Well, and here we are again with another episode of Dance Gems, and today we're going to talk about from stereotypes to wholeness, masculine and feminine dynamics in dance. Stereotypes, that's what it is. And I know one person that has great interest in this type of topics is, of course, my good friend and colleague, Ton Greten. So let's see if he's there. Ton, are you there?
I'm there, Sean. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
So, again, a fantastic
topic.
point,
Yeah.
topic, yes, to speak about it. Yeah, I was thinking about my words.
Yeah,
Yes.
topic. It's a little bit of a long sentence, so let me repeat it for the readers and the viewers, of course. So, from stereotypes to wholeness, our stereotypes in dancing, and specifically the female and male or masculine and feminine stereotypes in dance, and is there a function for it? Is it necessary? All these kind of things we are going to explore and we'll see where that brings us, Don. I'm excited about this topic. I hope you
Yeah,
too.
me too. Absolutely, Sean. And stereotype, that's so nice that you put it in. But who made that stereotype? Is that not our environment? Like in the magazines when all the women have more thicker lips, and is that not influenced by it, what feminine is and what a man sees in a woman and a woman in a man? Is that not what our environment made from it?
well, if that's a question to me,
Yes.
then yeah, absolute stereotypes are probably as long as the history of men and women. But specifically when culture starts to have a broader impact on society. But the strange thing, if it comes, for instance, to the thicker lips or the other shapes, is that is not exactly the same as it is now. There was a time where skinny was not in where no one likes skinny women, and now it's maybe skinny women or masculine
Mhm.
men, and so the that also changes over time. So even the stereotypes itself changes too. So yeah, culture has a
Yes.
lot to do, maybe everything to do with stereotype. You could
Yes.
think philosophical, would there be stereotype if we would not have any of those cultural things?
Yes, and we influence each other
Oh yeah.
because through our World Wide Web, we
Yeah.
see much more our social media, our TV, our newspaper, the news magazines, everything you imitate then. And probably you like it, and then you want to look like somebody else. But if you be aware of it and you have some points where it come from, because when you look in the year 1800, the man had long hair, had high heels, and now it's vice versa. The woman claimed the high heels, and also the corset. Even it's only 100 years ago that woman still was in a corset, and Chanel Coco Chanel said it's finished, and she take the scissors and cut the how you say the her corset. She cut the corset, and she said a woman don't need that. That's punishment from the man.
Yeah.
She said that,
Yeah.
and actually she's right. And also the hat is changing. Before it was big hats, and she makes small minimalistic hats, and the woman get a different, totally different touch through her designs. It was really wonderful that a woman was so strong like her to make that choices, because she fight against mountains.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, 2 years ago, there was a really nice expose in the Dallas Museum of Art about Coco Chanel. And so you could see her growth into that point. Strangely enough, let's be a little bit critical here. That's why we are the Dance Gems, right? Strangely enough, she created herself a different stereotype of the women, right? So people from that moment on started to say, okay, that's real feminine now. It's free, but it was very. I mean, I love the style of Coco Chanel, but it's probably also influenced by the same by the same culture. So it is. So if the stereotype would be completely away, then this was not necessary. Also, so yeah, of course. She at least opened the discussion. Is it tin waste? Is that something? And if that comes with a lot of pain, is that then something that is more feminine? Now, if you look at Coco Chanel's models that she used,
Mm.
they were pretty slim ladies. There was never a lady with bigger size. So all the Coco
Mhm.
Chanel designs were made for relatively small ladies. So yeah, great respect for it, but unknowingly, she did not know that she was still just going for a slightly shift in the stereotype. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yes.
Like I said, it's a critical note. It's a critical note, and I do that with the most respect. But it took years before there were designers who did not look for a specific type of models and put all kind of women types on the catwalk to show that. Right?
Yes. But I have one question, Sean, to
Yeah.
you. Maybe you
hmm
know that question. Why is a woman in a skirt?
I mean, there is no that also came in culture because there was times when the guys were also in a skirt and long
Yes.
dresses, and in some cultures, that is, look only at the Middle Eastern culture, we still see guys having more or less a dress type of thing. So it's all driven in our side of the society by fashion designers at some point in time, and that would be a good research. When was it that fashion designers start to have such a big hold on what we think is fashion and not?
Hmm.
That is a really hard to find point. But if you look in history, yeah. First of all, it was also hard to make a pants, so guys had
Yeah.
to wear a skirt. It was not so easy to make two things that fit the legs.
Hmm.
So I don't know the answer when that actually happened. That it was not manly
Hmm.
for a guy to wear skirts, and it was not feminine for a woman to wear pants. There are actually still religious groups that absolutely forbid for ladies, for women to wear pants. Yeah.
Yes. And this is also the point where I want to go to, Sean,
hmm
because in dancing, sometimes the trainer or the coach or the partner
hmm
wants that the woman or the girl who is dancing in a partner dancing, I have
hmm
it, they want exactly how she will look.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes, most of the time, is it not the choice of the girl
Agree.
or vice
Or the
versa
or the or the boy. Yeah.
or the boy?
Yeah.
Yes, and the rule work in a competition dancing is also put this tradition, keep this tradition to keep the girls in a skirt, the children in a skirt and in socks above a little bit above the ankle,
When they're young.
and
Yeah.
still they keep yes they keep this tradition, and also the belly cloth and the shoes, because the shoes are really punishment for the woman. This point shoes,
hmm
because the man wanted actually that the legs are longer than
That's the
through that.
idea. Yeah.
That's the idea. Yes, to have long. It's actually always mostly, not always, but mostly about sexual behavior or thoughts about something behind why a woman must look like she must look. And we are have a different opinion about it. I cannot speak exactly for you, Sean, but we think, and when we say think, we are not sure, but I'm sure that the woman must look how she wants to look. And if she asks for support, I can give my ideas, but I would give my ideas through questions and not through what how I want her to see. And if she asks me, yes, son, but I want that you say something, how I must look, then of course I have ideas. But then I will tell these ideas, how I build these ideas is also for my culture, for my background, for my environment. So all these thoughts what I have is the other side. All these other people learn me these thoughts, and of course, it's my own thoughts, but I have it from somewhere, Sean.
Always,
And
always.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, always of it, whether it's in a thought that you agree with someone else or the opposite, it doesn't really matter. It's always a reference towards. No, I mean, in this perspective, we are the same, and that is free from what I what I think, right? So to make that very clear for the audience, that if I see a Latin couple and the girls in a dress and the guys in a suit or black suit, I typically I have a taste in that. But here's the point: for me, it's important whether they made their own choices in what they are wearing. I have a preference what I like to see, what I think is beautiful. That's 100% subjective, right? That's
Mm-hmm,
100% subjective, but that's okay. We are subjective people, but it doesn't
mm-hmm,
mean that we have to bring the subjectivity as a rule. That's the issue that we often talk about, right? It's really
mm-hmm.
okay that if I say beautiful, then people hopefully by now understand that it is pure my personal opinion. And I, as a teacher, I know that I have to be careful because we talked about already followers and creators, and often students want to take over my opinion. But therefore, I'm very careful with what I say because otherwise I influence their choices too much. And I like to influence their choices by making them critical thinkers. That's a little bit what it is. So I fell in love with Latin American dancing because of that stereotype. To be very open, that's what I personally think. But when I started to hear teachers saying, "And you have to wear this, and you have to wear that," that's when I think, no, that's not why I like it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see
yeah.
that's the difference. So it's not that Ton and I think, oh, we want to put the guys in a dress and the girls in a suit. No, that would be that would be equally wrong. We want them to make open choices. If they,
Open
yeah,
choice. But can you really make an open choice?
no,
That's my question. No,
no,
it's
you
not
can't.
possible.
But you can
You
at
you
least have the
can't.
at least you can have the discussion. So, but if the rules don't allow us to make open choices, then we come to a point that's even more tricky, right?
Yes, you
So,
can see that in Asia, in some
yeah,
believing country, Muslims, I think they with their
yeah,
hair,
yeah,
they
Habib, yeah,
yes,
yeah. So
that's
that's the other side. So that comes also. By the way, we think that is very traditional. By the way, Iran used to be called Persia, and Persia was a very modern state. Tehran in the
mm,
1970s, the revolution came in, but before that time, it was a very modern state. Right? Those covered up women were not there at all, not even close. Was one of the most modern cities you could find, right? So let's, people need to get their history also right. But it comes from the same point almost like we talk about it. So some of this radical religious belief that there was an over sexualization of women, and and that's like the weakness of the men, right? Men would come into temptation, and we should not bring the men into temptation, and therefore we cover up the we cover up all the women. That's a little bit, I hope I don't insult anyone, because if that is your free choice to do it that way, I'm all for it. I
Yeah.
if that's your free choice, I'm all for it. But we're talking about a couple of things that, are these things coming only from over sexualization? Is it a male driven choice? Those kind of questions we have. Some people believe they do. I have a slightly different opinion about it. I think I think not. That would be too black and white. Um, because that could be true for women too. So for me, it actually comes down to, can we come to a point where people really, in appropriate ways, which is also subjective, can they make their own free choices of what to wear in a dance competition?
Um, yeah, that's a good question, Sean. I don't have the answer on that one.
That's why we have the discussion, right? And
Yes,
but it
yes.
comes,
I
it comes,
I don't
yeah.
think it's so free like it is so free. I think you imitate each other, and you want to look in the way how it looks now. But I actually like the style, and that's because I like these old movies.
Hmm.
And when I was a little child, and I
Yeah,
looked to all these old movies, to Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, and I saw how the woman was dressed, and the hair, how it was done. I, I I liked it. It was fantastic, but I didn't know that actually all they had designers there. They made it like how it was there to sell these um, movies
of course.
at that moment. But uh, the society was like that. But I liked it, and now I take this picture still with me, what I saw as a little child, and that this is my say my reference point.
Hmm.
And this reference point is now a stereotype. But if somebody, a guy, would put nail polish on the fingers, then it's logical that you put it there as nail polish. But then I must really put my stereotype thinking away immediately, because then I think, oh, that's weird, because mostly the men not do nail polish. But then I look to it, and I think one moment, why not? That's okay. Do
My
it.
son does. Yeah,
Yes, that's a choice.
it's a
And then
choice.
I used to, because I speak to myself, and then I say, yes, it's okay, Ton. They can do that. What, you are not God to say how somebody must look. No. So accept it. And I make immediately a switch in my head. And yes, oh, actually, it's quite nice. Oh, the other guy has all the rainbow colors on the nails. And then again, my stereotype will come in my head. And I think, Ton, stop. Why he choose for that one? So, and then I will speak differently with me. And then suddenly acceptation is there, and I think, oh, it's actually wonderful, it's unique how he wants to
Yeah,
do that. And now I look different to it, Sean, and I'm happy that I speak so with me. But I have also stereotype pictures in my head,
yeah, we
but
all
I
have.
know now that the environment put this in my head.
Yeah, and so, the the pure only looking for uniqueness is something that you have, but do understand that that in itself is also formed by the same stereotype.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always a little bit that we try to be critical. So I think there's a difference between stereotyping and the difference between a man and a woman, right?
Yeah.
So that so of clearly there is, let's, we did it in the Dutch version. I very quickly went through what are the true differences between a man and a woman. We don't want to take that away. It is what it is. We can try to take it away, but you cannot take it
Yeah.
away, right? So
Correct.
of course we have hormonal differences, we have chromosomical differences, XY, everyone knows that. Male typically have more testosterone than female, which causes that my muscle mass is different than a female. So our reproductive system is completely different, right? Uh, so therefore, we have a lot of physical difference. There is even research that's a little bit more tricky to find out, but there are brain structure differences, and even the function of
Yes,
the brain is
absolutely.
slightly different, right? We can take the brain out and look at these differences, and people can see, oh, this is a female brain and this is a male brain, because some of the connections between the lobes are slightly
Correct.
different. So
And
therefore,
lighter. It's also
yeah,
lighter, right, Sean?
yeah, lighter is has a lot to do with the size of the person, and lighter, yeah. So a smaller brain can still do much more than a bigger brain. So that doesn't always happen. The
Mhm.
difference, but yeah, true. There's so we have heart rate differences, our
Yes.
metabolism for in general, and we need to talk generalizations, are actually different. So typically, male heart beats slower than a typical female heart. That's not only because of the size, but it's the so there are definitely differences. Now the question is, do we, because of that, naturally express ourselves different, or do we express ourselves different because of what culture tell us to do? Does that make sense? So
Yes.
that is the real question, right? There's no question that there's a male, but do we in Latin put a black shirt and a black trouser on because that is just, if I had the free choice and didn't know anything about Latin American dancing, is that what I would pick, or is it given by society? Now,
Eh,
that's a clear answer, I guess. I think that is
Yes.
highly driven by society. Now there
Yeah.
are after
Absolutely.
after our Dutch episode, I did some research on that. Actually, there are researchers in that topic where they let toddlers choose what toys to play with without any input from outside. So they put boys' toys and girls' toys, dolls and cars and stuff like that. The remarkable thing is, it's not 100% conclusive. So let me be very honest to that. But there is definitely so that boys pick in general different toys than girls. Boys like to take things apart just by nature to see what it is, not to break it, but they kind of want to know how it works. Um Girls typically bring things together. So there are definitely differences. Again, not 100% conclusive, but I thought that's an interesting thing, actually. So there probably will be differences also in choices if you would be able to let that completely free without any influence. Yeah. So that is a little bit what we talk about. Now, then you come all the way to fashion, you know, a pants or a skirt. Now, well, that goes, of course. That probably is no. There's no any evidence that a boy would, by nature, would take a pants off the rack and a girl a skirt, because we go a few hundred years back and there was no difference between those two things, anyhow. So there is differences, Tom, but it's not as clear
Mhm.
as people want to say. And yeah, so the way we express ourselves now is within a stereotype driven by culture. That would be my conclusion.
Mhm. Yes. And the voices are also different. The
Oh yeah,
sound of
yeah,
the voice.
yeah,
So why I
absolutely.
recognize a man's voice and why I recognize a woman's voice. The
Well, I think
tone is
that, yeah,
different.
yeah. So for a big part, that is actually pretty well researched. So I could, even if I say that I was only brought up by women, right? Then I would sound slightly different than I would sound now. But because of the structure of this whole part, my tone of voice would always be lower than, and that's also because of the hormones, but it's also of the structure of how it is. Now, are there female baritone voices? Of course, and there are incredibly, men who can sing very high notes too. That is true too. Um, but yeah, there is the physical difference is different there. It's like
Yes,
with the ability to push weight, for instance. Yeah, there are some females who can come where men come, but they probably never get where without
yes.
influence from outside, where men could go naturally. So yeah, that's just what it is. Yeah.
You know what I learned, Sean, from my
Hmm.
teacher?
Yeah.
Uh, And this is because when you have teachers and teachers, because my teacher learned it from his teachers.
Yeah.
And like he said to me, a woman has to close the legs
Yeah.
and put
Yeah.
the
You told me
knees,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
put them over each other, like, yeah,
Hmm.
close the legs that you, and then it looks more feminine. And the man can open the legs. And the man is more rough, like when you have a video, you can see it, or like
Yeah.
that. So men use more the outside, and the woman use more the inside. Yes,
Yeah.
and the woman is more fine, and the man is more rough. What I said already. This is what I learned from them, and how a man walks and how a woman walks. And a woman
Hmm.
more on one line, and a man more on two line. A man can is more roughly waggling. I don't know how you say this in English, and a woman is more gracious and more yes, more control. Also, yeah, this is what how I learned it, and
Oh yeah.
I teach in the beginning also like that, Sean.
Hmm.
So I actually,
Hmm.
um, I
Yeah.
can say I can dance really like a woman and walk like a woman, behave like a woman, but stereotyping. And
Stereotyping. Yeah.
I last years I'm not doing this anymore because I want to make the woman aware that she can make her own choices, what a woman should be or can be or how she stand.
Or a man. Yeah. Same thing.
Or like a man the same. So I don't take this typical stereotypes
Hmm.
pictures. I not put any more into it. I do it only in when it will be a show about the theme like that, and I will make jokes about it.
Hmm.
Then I would like it to make it, but I would not make. Don't want to make a choreography to make this serious because I don't think this is serious, but I don't want to behave like serious because it's not in a box. You put a man and a woman in a box, how they must behave.
Yeah.
And I think, and I say again, I think, I'm sure, because when I say I'm not sure, I'm sure the woman and man must make their choices freely and formless. Formless by don't put already your tradition form already preset in your
In their head.
brain,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
in your head.
They need to change. They need to choose their own way of expressing who and what they are and what they want to be or what they want to express. I
Yes.
totally agree. And like I said, this is separate from w- subjectively what I like, and what I think is beautiful, and we can have that's an opinion too. Just make sure that it's your opinion. I think when we spoke about it, I had, and that it's just the luck. I had a slightly different set of teachers who actually used. Now I remember it even better. They said if you want to express yourself according to the stereotype, you should do this, right? But then it becomes your choice.
Yeah.
If you want to appeal to the stereotype. So we also had, just from explorations, things to understand it, where we were asked to role reversed. Can we, apply, and can we how that is, where the guy is maybe more stereotypical dancing, and that opened my mind more to these things. Now, in all fairness, I love that. I mean, I fell in love with Latin dancing because of the stereotype. What I did not like, that's where Ton and I found each other, when I saw that it was forced on people. That I don't like. But here is here's another conundrum: is as a choreographer, I know now how to deal with it. Right? I know how to say if someone says, "Hey, I really want that. That's what I want." But as a designer of clothes, where some mostly women ask me, "Can you design a dress for me?" That's when I have a longer discussion about what is it that you want? What is
Yes,
it that you want?
exactly.
That's a little bit harder because they very typically also come with ideas according to, and if they really want that,
Mm.
and do we know that for 100% sure? We never know, even yourself, not. Do you want to appeal to the large audience? Does it fit the concept that you dance in? There's so many questions that people don't think about when they make these choices. And that's, I think, Tom, what you and I do mostly is open the mind first, and then within that, make your choice.
Yes, absolutely. But Sean, I go back to something what you said. You said
Hmm.
forced. But when I think about forced, you get borderline behavior.
Hmm.
You get
Yeah.
maybe you come close to the Me Too generation, what is now really, yeah, in this time. So it gets over the border then because you push your ideas and things what you have, you put it to somebody else instead to speak freely about to find a way to it.
Oh, yeah, of
And
course.
yes, and I not understand why we want to force some people into what they actually not are.
Well, I do understand that, Tom.
Yes.
If your focus is only sole trying to, for instance, win a competition, and you think and you have you have a fixed idea, this is how you can win a competition, right? Then then you take out all the choices of everyone, because then you are fixated on getting that result, which is thinking that you know what an adjudicator wants, and interpreting the rules that you and I talked about it in a previous podcast are not so black and white as people think. There's so much room for interpretation, but they all believe it. So that very falls quickly in the category of stereotypes, right? This is what you need, and that's how you win a competition. And I can actually talk about that quite strongly. But I always add to that: is that the way how you want to dance? If someone says, "I don't care what I have to do as long as I win," probably not my student, Tom. But yes, I said, go ahead, do that. If you're happy with that, I'm the last person who would, as long as you don't hurt someone, I'm the last person who would stop you. But most people come in conflict because they want to win the competition and at the same time express themselves differently. And they
Mm.
believe that those two cannot be reconciled.
Yes, but this is why I like hip hop so much and the
Yeah,
underground
yeah,
because they look. The girls have wider t-shirts and wider trousers, or sometimes they're really sexy. Whatever they wear there, it's accepted and
yeah.
it looks like it's like a style in it. Maybe it could be also and Yeah, I like the freedom in it, and they can also behave differently. And when you look to other dance forms, sometimes it feels forced. When I look to the contemporary, the man and the woman looks the same mostly. That's the
Yeah, oh,
picture what I have in
that
my
is,
head.
yeah, that's almost a non-binary
Yes, non-binary.
in
Yes,
contemporary dancing.
and when you look to the ballroom Latin world, in the ballroom world or in the Latin world, they have always mostly 90% or maybe 99 or
99.
95% a skirt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. 99% is, let's say that is, let's put it in those terms, then the ballroom is actually 100%, minus 1% maybe, that binary, right? Contemporary is almost always binary. And then maybe
Yeah.
hip hop found its way. Now, like I said, from a personal choice, I don't say that I like all Latin dresses, but I typically like that style. But it has nothing to do with the discussion that we
Yes.
do. Does that make
I
does
like
that?
all kinds of styles, Sean,
Yeah,
but
I know.
how what I said already before, these pictures they get in my head as a stereotype picture from my past. So if you could release that and you look really not to the outside but from the inside, what moves and how you what you want to deliver on that floor, then is the dress of course a point where what you see first. And but if you look really to how somebody moves, maybe you come to a different
Oh,
conclusion.
completely. Yeah, no, I definitely try to look free from those stereotypes when I work with a couple, right? When they
Yeah,
come to me, I try. I'm like you. I realize that no matter how hard I try, there probably will always a little bit of that in there, right? But I try
yeah,
and walk and talk with them through it, and then specifically if we do a show, we can be way more free of that, even more. So I'm fully with you, and I'm also convinced that at some point in time this will change, right?
yes,
Where it
yeah,
flips side completely to the other side. Well, and I don't know that either, right? I I had another list. Why is it that that people that guys typically express themselves differently than women? Why is that, right? Is that a choice, or is that also because of these cultural stereotypes? Now,
cultural
because of
stereotypes.
for a big part too, but you will always see, because of the hormones that we have, that men typically take more risk and play a little bit more physical power. You can't stop that.
Agree,
Yeah,
agree,
you can't
Sean.
stop that.
Agree, totally agree.
And you will probably also, if you put it in there like they try to put on me, you're a guy, so you have to look stronger. That would be wrong. Does that make sense?
Yes, but that this is what they mostly say.
Yes, that's what they say. That's what we talk about, right? But typically, because of the structure, or because we think, and I remember that, and then I stopped taking lessons from those people where I had to close my hands because I was always doing this, and I had my bracelets on, and they said, "Yeah, you can do that because you are a man." I said,
Yes.
Okay, I mean, am I looking now suddenly like a woman? No, 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 that's not
Yeah.
what I want to say. But
Oh,
so I was so
yes, yes,
confused,
yes,
Tom.
yes, Sean. That's they said also to me, you have to stand frontal with the legs open, and the
Yeah,
girl stays diagonally with the body to you. So then this is more feminist with the legs closed. And sometimes they said also, girl always low, man always high. That's so. Now, when I think about that, what is this for thoughts? This so weird
but it is.
thoughts.
Yeah, it's weird, but it is at the same time. It is not something from maybe in fashion it is, but if you go, for instance, go to Cuba, right, and you see that traditional way of dancing and where salsa and rumba is coming from, and you see a very clear distinction about the female and the man, and very respectfully, by the way. where the man
Yeah.
has, in tribal, in almost all tribals that you will see there's a very distinct difference in dance between what a man dance and a woman dance. So
Yes, also
it,
this is culture, Sean. This is
but
also
still
goes from
culture.
generation to, yes, yes,
It's
also
still culture.
stereotype.
It's
But
still a
looks,
culture. Yeah.
but it's organic, uh, in my opinion. They are free.
Ah, that's
And
nice.
yes, and when you look to, if you would put it verse of around, the man go down with the leg closed, a little bit knee over knee, and the woman stand up with the legs open, frontal. So that would be already a little weird picture for the most of them.
Yeah.
So because they are not used to this picture, to this form, and can you imagine, Sean? I walk like a woman, like with my legs closed and my shoulder wobbling like that, and then I would say, "Hey, one beer." That would be totally strange. And when the man would walk like that with the white legs, you cannot see it now when you hear it, and I would walk like that, and I would say, "One beer, please, one beer." Yeah, that's so weird when the voice not fit to the
Stereotype.
yeah, stereotype
Oh,
form
yeah.
or shape, and for the women, but also for the men. And when the voice would be totally the opposite, yeah, then people, for them it will look funny. You understand? Because
Or
they are not
confusing.
used. That,
Or
yes,
confusing.
that's,
Yeah. No,
yes,
I could,
confusing.
we
Yeah,
going
yeah.
completely on a tangent, but I think you and I could both develop together a dance where the lower part of the body, fits another stereotype than the upper part,
Yeah, 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 yes. Yes, yes,
both in
yes, yes.
clothes and in movement. And then
Yeah,
I think we could do
interesting.
really fun things with that, just to
Yeah.
show that. By the way, the one thing, not that I disagree with you, but in tribal, that is not a free choice, of course, right? It's organic, but it's not a free choice. You were born
No,
as a
no.
as a as a warrior. You dance as a warrior, right? And
Yes.
you could test as a warrior. So there, it's almost stronger. It just has a different function than here.
Yes, yes.
And then the other
Yes.
thing I want to say in my search for this is we often, specifically now in the stereotype, yeah, the art in this way, it's all that's all of feminine, but do understand that a lot of the stage plays and you go way back was pure a male thing. Even in some cultures, still, even the female role was not even played by a female. Actors were all men. Look in Roman time, old Roman time, actors were all men. And so they had to understand the stereotypes. And then we say also we have these really weird stereotypes, right? So gay guys are more feminine. That's also a stereotype because it's absolutely not true, right? Because they in that stereotype, because my brother is gay, and if they would guess who in the family is gay, they probably think it's me because I'm a dancer, right? I'm a dancer and I like fashion. Oh, and now I am more feminine. See, we have this weird stereotypes in our head and it across everything. Tom, that has always annoyed me. I think, why do people do that? Now I understand the history of it, which is kind of fun in a way, but I think we need to become a little bit more free from it. And but that doesn't mean that I still like a beautiful dress, but it's my definition of beautiful. I hope that people understand that that is the subjective part. Like I like Chinese food more than, I don't know, Norwegian food. I mean, that's preference. That has nothing to do with I force that onto people. And that's a little bit what Ton and I
Yes.
go into.
Preference, Sean. Super word. I want
Preference.
to, yes, because we get preference,
Yeah.
because we gain our information from our
Of
environment.
course. Of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then we get a preference for it. But
Yeah.
why we get this preference from that, because they put it always on your nose, look
Yeah,
like this, but actually we learn ourselves
yeah,
from the information from the outside, that how we can feel, how we can think about
hmm,
things, because we are influenced by that. And then it gets some preference. But if you realize that and you can make a cut to it,
yeah,
then you can say to yourself, why? Ask yourself a question, why I think like that?
that's
Why a woman must have big boobs and maybe a big ass and thick, thick lips? That's crazy. Why you must think like that? Or it's sexual because we want to
mm,
um, get children. We want to have sex. Maybe that's. I don't know what the reasons are why
mm,
we think like that. And this
mm.
is why in other culture you you can almost nothing see from the woman. There are an
Well, yeah. Well,
yeah.
in their private, of course, you can see. Well, first of all, it's not 100% clear why men think something is attractive, and other things not. There is something in that behavior that's different. We also know that it is very strongly influenced by media, right? So there is a period when thin women were seen as more attractive, and then over time people start to overtake that same opinion, right? Strangely enough. And here is my work in abuse comes to play, because that is, so if I don't fit in my mind what I like, what society tells me, and I like something completely different, I feel that I don't fit in. And that leads sometimes to really mental weirdness, right? Because we have a weird tendency as people. We want to fit in, and at the same time, we want to be exceptional, right? We have a weird thing in there. So that's actually what Ton and I talk about the most. We should try to get free of that. That doesn't mean that I personally like maybe a certain type of women. We don't want to take that away. We don't want to make everything the same, but we also need to be very open about that, because if you want to be subjective, then everything has beauty. you know, everything has beauty if you want to see it. But we say sometimes things beautiful because Vishen
Mhm.
Lakhani, he wrote a book about that. He said that it's completely 100% influenced by culture. He called it the culture scape. I read that book a while ago, and it's called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. And if you can decode the extraordinary mind by getting yourself free from that, from those things, that doesn't mean that you don't make choices. You still make
Mm.
choices. And
Yes.
he grew up in a very traditional family, and he asked at some point in time, Indian family, he said to his mom, who had a very free mind, why can I not eat beef? Huh? And then because he thought there was the rule, he said, no, it's not a rule, that's our choice, but dear son, if you want to eat beef, that is all the way up to you. But some people say it's forbidden. He said, it's never forbidden. It's never written that's forbidden. That's what people make from it. He said it's always a choice, and it's your choice to do that. So if you want to go to McDonald's, go. And so that was radical. He learned so much from his mom in a traditional family. So he wrote the book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, which he called that the culture scape, that the most of our thinking is more than we know, influenced by our culture,
Yeah.
stereotypes. And to get free from
Stereotypes.
that unlocks also the freedom of choice. That's what Tom and I always say. And that actually leads to what he says, to an extraordinary mind. Then you can
Yes.
choose. You still want to conform to the stereotype. If that's a completely free choice, great. No one says that you cannot do that, right? But there needs to be room, and not you and I would probably fit in there. Can we look at these things, people who take a different choice? Can we have no judgment over that? if
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
if
I
someone,
want
if
I
there's a
wanted to
couple,
say something about
yeah,
that, Sean.
yeah.
Sorry, I interrupt you
No, I
because
was talking a
choice
lot.
is in my yes, my no no. My choice no, because you said about choice, immediately I write it down, and what pop up in my head is the respect for a human choice. You need to have respect for somebody else's choices, and
Absolutely.
not that you think that you can put the hands on somebody or put your ideas on somebody. Don't have that. It must be respectful of the choice of the other side, what they do, and try to work on yourself and think why you think like that. And
Yeah.
actually, that's a nice book, Sean, what you told. What was the name of this
It's
writer?
called, the name of is Vishen, Vishen, Lakahani,
Mhm.
Lakhiani, and the book is called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind.
Yes, very, very interesting. And it's also how I think like
Yeah.
that.
It's a very
And actually,
influential person, by the way. He started a
yes,
company called Mind Valley, which is one of the, yeah. I mean, he brings all this people together who think like this, about these choices. But you have to add something to that freedom of choice. Freedom of choice is always there. There is never freedom of consequence, right? Remember what I said that when we
yes,
first met? That's what I told you. There's freedom of choice. There's never freedom of consequence. And what I mean with that, it freedom of choice also comes together with responsibility. We
mhm,
always need to make our choices with respect to other people.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
So of course, if you want to wear a svastika, which is nothing to do with Nazis, that it came actually from the India culture too, but nowadays you would really insult people wearing that. That's so. Do you have the freedom to wear it? Uh, I think yes, but uh, I think yes, but it stirs up emotions that maybe has nothing to do with you. So people from that culture often make a joke, right? Because if you had not know anything about Nazi and you still have those things, then it's cultural driven, right? So we have to always take a little bit in account to what other people think and feel, as well, and that makes us human beings. I think that's also what he writes about. Yeah, of course, you have the freedom of choice in principle, but also think about what your choices will do to someone else.
yes. Say, Sean, I go to a competition
Yeah.
and I put the clothes there on as a man, um, and the woman as a woman, how we used to see it, how
Hmm.
that is in a skirt and in trousers, but it could be also that the girl could be in trousers when it is a hip hop competition and in a white sweater. But when I go to a gala and the king and queen invited me, mhm, by saying that would be very nice, but it isn't. I want to be accepted, so I will wear
Yeah.
a smoking,
Hmm.
and I want to feel that acceptation that I'm not falling out of that group who
Yeah.
also wear smokings and a nice suit, uh, mostly dark suits. Then also,
Yep.
and yes, this is how I think. But if you are an artist and you would be free of all that, and you come in, say in a jeans, what is broken the jeans? It's also fashion now, but if you would go to the gala there, people would look around and think, why you didn't have the smoking on? And the same is on the competition floor. You have expectations how somebody have to look there.
We do. Yeah.
Yes, on the ballroom Latin, in the contemporary, in the hip hop world, and this makes the look how you get accepted as a female and masculine man there. And this is quite weird. Why you cannot wear what you want to wear? Because you will fall out of the group and you are not accepted, feel maybe not accepted, and then it's a higher risk to get pros and
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you get
yes,
higher risk,
again, yes,
but
it's a higher risk.
mm,
And this is not what a human being wants to do. They want to get accept and keep it quiet, but it's not a rule like that, but it's the behavior also why we do it, and maybe also the
yeah,
respect. I don't know why it's like that. I would also, the behavior of a woman, I would totally free, and the man and what they want to wear also free, that they can make free choices, not influenced by the outside, but
yeah. But
by
there
an inner
are
choice.
reasons for these things too. I mean, in the past when we were, on the battlefield, and we would all, with a big group would go against each other. Uh, Ton, it was necessary to make sure that you would not kill your brother. So therefore, they put on the same uniform. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes.
so there
That's
is
what I thought, thinking also about, to
that's
say.
where
Yeah.
that's where those tribal colors are coming from. It has to do with identification. Now, what you ask is, what do you think is more important? Identify yourself with the group or identify yourself from your own person? Right? Does that make sense? And there needs to be room for both. Sometimes
Yes.
it's really nice to identify yourself as a group and position
Yes.
that, but one should never force the other one, right?
Yeah.
I hope that listeners, that's what we are driving. And maybe that's a little bit radical. I don't think it is at all. We just need to
No.
think a little bit where these things are coming from. If we would not be recognized and we need to go to battle, then we don't know who to kill and who not to kill. Um, which would probably fit my thinking, but there needs to be room for both, but it
Yeah,
should
space,
never be
room.
forced. Yeah, so if it
Yes.
has a function to have that group, that group identification, I'm all for it. I don't care about these things at all.
The,
But when it's forced, or when some people think if we dress like this we have more power, or we have, I have always thought, like, I like if I go to a black tie and I can put on a smoking. I like that, but I'm also
yeah.
okay if someone doesn't. But in that example, they probably don't even let you in
Yes.
without the smoking,
Yes.
unless you are a super famous person,
Yes.
super famous that they cannot. I know, remember you, by the way, you did something radical at a Blackpool competition, but let me take another example because I did this one a few episodes ago. Louis and Julie. Once Louis van Amstel and Julie Fryer, very famous Dutch couple, well, she's English couple, and they once decided to dance in jeans, and there was more talk about that they were not dressed according to the code than their dancing. But they were already world champions, so they won the championship anyhow. But a lot of people think this cannot happen. And Louis had his hair long, right? And he was wearing the jeans, and they looked almost the same. And the movement, they were made more the same, not so strictly. I remember how they practiced that in the studio, and there was so much talk about it. And I
Mhm.
said, why
Yes.
could you not see that was exceptional movements that they made with purpose to keep it a little bit less out of the stereotype? Why was that not the discussion? It was
Can you,
only
yes, can you imagine this would happen now? Somebody would dance in a
if they're
jeans
famous, they
on a
would.
Latin competition. Yes, but still, it's out of the
Oh yeah, still
context,
it's still
out
out.
of the,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's still
still
out of the
out.
context, and or I mean, even extremer. If I would put on a dress and the other one put on the pants, and
Yeah.
I would completely. And but here is the strange thing: we went to the gay games also with two dancers, and even in the gay games, there was always, when they did the traditional Latin, one person would take on the male part and the other one would take on the female part. I mean, a lot of people might not
Yeah,
know
but
this,
it's so
and
strange,
it's so
weird
strange.
for me.
And then
Yeah,
two dancers that you and I know really well, and they are famous people, so I can say it was again Louis van Amstel and Peter Townsend. They completely threw that out of the window. They had no typical female of male steps, and they just danced it. And then people started to take it over, but there were even within that community. They were saying, but that's not like Roomba. They need to do male female steps. So
yeah,
is that
no,
stereotypical thinking goes through every group. Don't
every
and,
group.
and that's what this book is about. Look first at yourself before you say that you don't have that. And Ton was
Yes,
also
yes,
very
yes.
open. Even today, I try to get free from it, but I always have to remind myself: am I thinking from the stereotype or am I thinking from the choice of the other people?
Yes, and this is also the beauty for the end of the podcast to say that. So, can you repeat it again, Sean, that people will remember that?
What part?
The stereotype,
Yeah,
the
that you do
thinking,
you yeah do you reason from a stereotype or do you reason from the choice of yourself or the other person? Uh,
and and also the behavior on that floor. Of course, if you want to move like a typical stereotype woman, do that. If that is your choice, yes, do it. But think also there's the other side. You can also choose to release that and try that because you will grow if you try something else. If you would
Absolutely.
eat every day the same, um, uh, say, soup, then try something different every day. You will grow as a human being. So try to develop yourself to expand more your thinking. But still, at the end, if you make the choice to do it in a typical way, yes, be my guest. It's your choice.
Yeah.
If you want to release from that
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
also super, because you will grow. This is what you will do. Because if you do always what you did, how you want to
Oh
grow?
yeah. 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 I did a role reverse dance with Irene, my dance partner, just to
Mm-hmm.
demonstrate that. And Nancy was doing a couple of things just for fun, what I do normally as a male dancer. And I asked her, it was just literally last weekend, and we were laughing about it. So I said, "Do I do that to you guys?" She said, "Yep, yeah, you still do that too." It's really hard to escape from it, even if you are, the way Ton and I think. It's really sometimes hard to skip. Yep, if you do traditional Latin, you behave like that. Like, really? Do I do that? And we were just challenging ourselves, like, we said there is no difference between that, and we could, and so
Yes.
so we have that, and to have that conscious, what we just talked about, is so interesting, just to challenge yourself in your own beliefs and in your own choices. It makes you grow, and it's super fun too, by the way. It's not it will make you grow.
Yes.
Try it at least.
Yes, and listen to our previous podcast, follower creator. You can do also with this holistic thinking. You can do even more, and this is why I thought now in the contemporary when you have choreographers there who actually say exactly how you must behave, how you must walk, what you must wear. Mostly men and women looks the same, and actually you are a slave of all what the creator make for you, and you follow that one. And it's also logical because you dance then in a company and you follow that one, so you
Yeah.
cannot release from that one. So actually it's your work to produce that art from that choreographer. But if you have freedom for it and you can make your own art,
Do that too.
so look and think formless and ruleless, without a rule,
As a
no
starting
rules for
point.
yourself.
Yeah,
As
as
a
a start.
starting point, yes,
Mhm.
this is the real art because art has never rules.
All right, that sounds like a really nice ending of this podcast about stereotypes and masculine and feminine dynamics in dance. So, Ton, it was a real pleasure. We were really onto it today. I think, I
Yes,
hope.
really, really on. Yes, 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 yes.
So,
Thank you, Sean.
we'll see each other next week with a new episode, of course, of Dance Gems. I'm going to start a little bit the music. Is there anything you want to say to our listeners and
Yes,
viewers?
make your choice as a human being what you want to be and what you want to become. This is important. This is your goal on this earth, what you want to become. So, and don't repeat yourself. This is what I did.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. We talk about that repetition in practice. Who knows?
Yes.
Interesting things. Thank you so much, Don, for your insight. It was a pleasure talking to you about this topic. I'll hope we see you soon, all of you, of course, in our next episode of Dance Jams with a new topic with Ton, Greten, and Jeandorff. Today it was From Stereotypes to Wholeness, Masculine and Feminine Dynamics in Dance. With that, I
Yes.
say bye bye.
Bye bye. Till next time.
Till next time. And of course, you can find us on DanceGems or on Spotify or at tongreten/podcast on YouTube or gem.dance/podcast on our own website. And we'll see you and hear you next time.